Hello. If this is your first time, welcome. If you are a return watcher, welcome back. My name is Stacy. This is Flionfree Fibers, where I chat about all things fiber related, from weaving to spinning to knitting, crocheting and felting, and even my fiber farm, which I am in Northeast Connecticut on my farm, Easy Acres Gnomestead. We are a fiber-focused farm where I raise critically endangered Gulf Coast native sheep and Angora rabbits. We do have a few other animals, but the fiber is our focus. And let's just get into things today. We'll start with a quick farm update. So on the farm, we've had crazy weather. If you're here in New England or Connecticut, even, my goodness. I went down Monday to work out, in between the snow and the rain and all the things that have been going on, the basement was wet. So I dealt with that with water in the basement. We've dropped into sub-zero temperatures, so it's been a lot of extra feedings, obviously, keeping the animals warm. They keep themselves warm with when they're digesting their food. So just some extra feedings. I actually go out several times just to kind of, they have their normal feedings, but I add a bit several times throughout the day and later into the evening, which we don't have to do much, but just for a little extra. I went out, I think my last time out last night was like 10:30, 11, about 10:30. Give a last bit of feed and then out first thing this morning at 4:30, I think, to get them started for the day, keeping waters from freezing. So that's farming. Biggest concern right now is the girls are ready to lamb any day, so I'm watching for that to happen, and I want to make sure if they do have any lambs that they are cleaned off and dried quickly with this cold temperatures. My sheep don't need a lot of interference. They don't need a lot of attention for lambing, but I just want to make sure they are extra quick to dry, and if I see one, I will go out and help get it dried, and then it will be for mama to take care of. So just kind of keeping an eye on that is why I'm out so often, and I don't want any stress of the cold being this close to lambing. So that's where we're at. Otherwise, everyone's doing fine and keeping warm and toasty, and chickens aren't even coming out. It's cold outside. And we haven't hit our coldest yet, so I believe the coldest is going to be this weekend, but it feels like single digits consistently. So thankfully we have longer days already, so days keep getting longer, so we have more sunshine. So let's get right into it. I do have some finished objects today. They're going to be weaving, if you can see a sneak peek behind me. But you can, if you like what you see today, like hanging out, hearing different projects, give us a like, give the video a like, subscribe to the page. You can follow me on Instagram at Flionfree Fibers. You can also follow the farm if you want to see what goes on a fiber farm and all those adventures. I did start my YouTube channel for the farm. It'll probably only get updated every couple weeks to a month, but that is Easy Acres Gnomestead. And it is also on Instagram and Facebook, the farm at Easy Acres Gnomestead. We are a shave 'em to save 'em provider for the critically endangered wool. So if you have your passport and you're looking to fill that and you're looking to work with Gulf Coast Native, you can find that at my Etsy store. Let's see, what do we got this week? So I did weaving this week. This week was primarily weaving focused. I think I left off last week where I had warped my loom with a weaving project, and I was going to get into that, and I actually did 2 this week. So what am I wearing? So this was my first knit ever. I think I've spoken about this before. I started this right before COVID. I walked in, I had crocheted for, I don't know, at that point, probably 15 years. And I wanted to learn how to knit. So I said, I want to learn how to knit. They handed me bamboo needles and I went and picked out yarn. Nobody said baby alpaca is probably not the best to start with. It turned out okay. I mean, it is what it is. But you can see the mistakes. It's just stockinette. It took me a couple years because it was right before COVID. COVID hit, and I know there's like a hole in here somewhere. I think this is probably the end. It looks neater. But I embellished, I marled, did all the things, but it was my first knit. It is baby alpaca. It's super, super soft. It's warm. It's keeping me a little extra toasty here in the house. The fireplace is going. We have the heat on, but it's chilly. So that's what I'm wearing today. Things I got done this week, though. So this was the weave that I had started last week. It's kind of hard to see, and I don't want to put it too close over here because the brighter it gets, the more gray it looks, but it's actually neutral browns. So it goes from a light brown to like a dark brown with black in it. And so I warped it with the long color changes, and you can kind of see it going across. And then I went up. I did some floats at the bottom just to kind of give that separation on the end. It's the same on both ends. The rest of it is just a plain weave. So these are 5-pick floats. So I did, so you pick 5, which is actually 10, and the floats go, and I did them with pickup sticks, left those in. It does have a twisted fringe bottom. That was fun with 200 and something ends for both sides. It took me a while to twist those all. And it is wet finish, so it came out, the drape is nice. I mentioned last week that when I purchased this yarn, let's see, this is 100% cotton. It is KFI Painted Lace Rainbow Finest Ring Spun Cotton. So this is what I used. It was 874 yards. It is a fine thing. I did it on a 10-dent heddle, and I like the way it came out. The only thing was the yarn itself had so many knots. Every time the variation in the yarn changed, it was almost like what they did was they had one color, and to make the changes to variegate it kind of over, or fade, I don't know if they call it a fade or whatever, they added one ply of the next deeper color. And they did it by tying it in. So each time it changed color, there was a knot. So when I was warping it, I had to make sure those knots were on end. So sometimes I was actually taking this long piece and tying it at the other end because I didn't want the knot. So I worked that out in the warp, but then the same thing happened with the weft. Now the weft was a little easier when I was going back and forth. What I would do is I would actually wrap my shuttle, and I wrapped each color individually. So where the knot came, I broke it, tossed the knot, and so I didn't have knots in my piece. You definitely don't want knots in your weaving. So I worked that all the way through, pulled it off a couple days ago, wet finished it. I ironed it today because, as you can imagine, cotton, it's just like kind of leaving your cotton anywhere. I have a little piece I need to trim there, but it turned out really well. It's very drapey. It's light. It will be a beautiful shawl that you could wear all year long. You could either bunch it up and dress up your clothes, or wear it light in the summer. It's very light, and it's just, it did turn out, I love the drape, and it turned out beautiful. I don't know if the yarn's worth the headache though. And if you do not like knots and it really will bother you, I would not recommend the yarn. Otherwise, it works out fine if you're willing to deal with the knots. Now, then I went right on and warped my next weave. This is a weave I've been wanting to do for a while, but I just, like, every time I went to warp it, I didn't want to do the math. Really, that's what it came down to. I love math. I have no issues with math. I just didn't want to sit there and figure it out because I was in a hurry to move on to the next thing or whatever it was. I was like, not yet, not yet. And I was trying to wrap my brain in, like, if I wanted to do it the way I did or if I wanted to do it a different way. And it's completely fine. I actually really enjoyed it. It just came off the loom this morning. So it's not, the fringes aren't trimmed, they're not finished. It has a hem finish to it where the other one just had a tie finish and then I twisted. So I did hem this one. I'm not sure what I will do with the fringe. If I'll do anything or maybe a lattice lace, I'm not really sure yet. I'm not sure if it calls for it. But what I did do was I did a clasp weft weave. And I did a video on clasp weft if it's something you're interested in trying or getting into. I did do a how-to video on it real quick just for tips, and it came out well. I didn't do a high contrast where it's very clear the colors. I mean, you can see it, but they're both variegated. One has a variegation of the other in it. So there are pieces where it looks like the pink just floats, but that's actually the black and it's some of the pink in the float. So for those, I used Sassy Black yarns in, I can't even see the colorways. I think this was Very Berry. So this is a sport weight. It is merino, and she hand dyes her yarn. She'll actually be at Wayland this weekend up near Boston. They have a fiber market twice a winter on a Sunday. So that is this Sunday up at Wayland, Mass, the farmer market. I think it's the Russell greenhouses. And this one, I can get that out, is chocolate mauve. So they were 300 yards. So I had 600 yards to work with between the two. And I bought them together, as I often do, and knew I wanted to do something with them. With Valentine's Day coming up, I was like, I really want to get into these. Am I going to do something with hearts, or what am I going to do? So I've been really wanting to get these on. Finally got them on. I did the math. I did about 10 inches. It was a little, I go over a little bit because I know it's going to shrink in when it comes off the loom. So I spaced it out 10 inches, just over 10 inches on my loom. It is also on a tendon heddle. I used my Kromsky Forte 24-inch for both of these, and I think I set this one at 90. So I figured at least if I got 5 or 6 feet in there. I'm not overly particular with my weaves and my measurement. As long as I know I can get the length that I need, I'm not like it's got to come out specifically to a measured finished piece. I want it long enough. I want it past my wingspan. So I'm 5.5 feet about. So usually I measure for about 6 foot long. I know it's a little bit longer than me, and that includes fringe and everything. So that's how it came out. Came out perfectly. Ooh, I will undress her here. So this is my clasped weft. So when you're doing a clasped weft, you are actually working with two colors going across, and one's coming from one way, one's coming from the other. So this is just random spikes in there. I didn't have anything. I've seen people do these with motifs of mountains, motifs of cities. I've seen a piano, which I'm actually interested in doing the piano board, the keyboard. I actually bought a shawl pin and everything for it. That's the way it comes out. I'll flip it over here. So the black. And what I did is I ran, when I was warping, I did pink on one side and black on the other. So it was half and half. I think they were, so 26 each, because I had 52 slots. So I did 26 each. And then I ran it. So what I did was I used a single shuttle, which I call my working yarn. So I start from the right, that's my working yarn, that's my shuttle. Otherwise, this ball sat right at my loom, and you run the shuttle through, you catch, I go underneath this one, catch it, and then I start pulling it back a bit. And you just have to be careful of your salvages because you're pulling from both ends at once. Plus, normally when you're weaving, you weave and you leave a diagonal, which then when you beat your weave down, that diagonal leaves enough where you're not pulling in on that end. So with the class weft, you're running two, so you actually have two diagonals. So they come, they cross, and then they go up. So you have these V's coming in. So you just gotta watch both ends as far as the salvages coming in, or you're leaving too much, and how much you got going on. It's a little extra, but it's really not a complicated weave. And unless you're going for like following a picture of a mountain range or something, it's just random however you want it to go. So I did this just to play, and I didn't want it to be like over the top. So that's why I'm okay with the pink going into the pink and the variegation in the black. I like the way it came out. It was exactly what I wanted it to do. And I do for like a piano or something, it'd be probably black and white, but there's definitely things you could do. And it was really fun to, just kind of change it up and have something a little different. I have not done the fringes yet, so this is really long. This is just, some of it will get trimmed off. I haven't decided what I'm doing with those ends yet, but I'm considering it a finished object. It still needs to be wet finished, but that won't be done until I finish the fringe. So those are my two. I really stuck to my weaving this week. I don't know what's next. I was looking at Valentine's projects. As you know, I already have my Easter projects, my little eggs that I'm doing. I did kind of color one up last week. So I just kind of did it like you were dipping it in, and I didn't do any sort of designs or anything on it. So it was almost like, a little kid dipping it into the different colors. And then I did start felting another egg. Ooh, losing my eggs. Don't drop your eggs. Oof. There we go. Dropped it right into the rabbit fiber. So I did start, so you can see you can do your eggs with all sorts of, so that one's still in progress. That's my little egg that I'm doing designs on versus one that looks like the traditional color dip. So I'm going to continue working on eggs, but Valentine's Day is first. So I was looking at some projects to do for Valentine's Day, and of course cliche hearts, but I found a few hats that I thought would be cute. The first is the Heart to Heart beanie by, I want to say Naomi, but it's Noemi Zimmer. I'm no good with names. The Heart to Heart beanie. I think that would really look cute with a solid and a variegated running through there. I have a couple that I might use, so that's where my head was at. It looks like you can actually purchase an entire collection. It looks like it might have a book. It is a worsted weight. They recommend Malabrigo, which I do have, but I would work that with something else. They had, oh, yep. So there's a cowl and a ear warmer that comes in the kit if you buy the whole set. Then another one that I thought was really cute is the Chevron Hearts beanie, which this I might use a Malabrigo. This is by a Whimsical Wood Yarn Company. Ooh, can you see that? Let's see if I have a lighter picture. There we go. There. That is really cute. And that is also in Malabrigo, so that's where I was thinking. That's a super bulky. That I was definitely thinking the Malabrigo, because I actually have some Malabrigo for another hat that's been sitting there waiting. But I also found a brioche heart hat. So if you really like brioche, this is the brioche heart hat by Jonathan Tallow. He has quite a bit of brioche. I actually have quite a few of his patterns in my Ravelry favorites. How cute is that brioche? Let's see. I think the pink is probably the best. Yeah. There's a red one in here, but I don't think it looks great. It doesn't pop as well as that pink and gray. So I would probably say definitely high contrast colors. And that is on a DK. It's about $4. So those are, and I did find some heart ear warmers and stuff as well, but those are super simple. I mean, for a plain knit, it's just charting out the hearts. Seeing if there was another. Oh yeah, All My Love and Kisses. This one I've actually had in here since last year. This is a bit more color work. This is with a worsted weight yarn. And I think the first one's the best, yeah. This is by Jessica Pilon. So if you're looking to do something for Valentine's Day, which is not too far away, or less than a month, those are some cute little patterns that are pretty quick knits. They're hats, whether you want brioche or color work or stranded knit, which is color work, but different levels there. Those were the few that I found. I'm not sure if I had any cowls. Some of these, oh, I did find a cable. So a Love and Kisses cowls. This was cabling. I have not actually done any cabling yet. I'm sure I wouldn't have too much issue. Smaller project, a cowl versus some people start with blankets and full long scarves. Not something I want to do. I don't want to jump into something that is that much of a commitment. And that is Love and Kisses Cowl by Megan Delorme. I'm not sure which one I am going to do. If you've done any of these patterns, let me know, and let me know how you like them, or if you want to take them on. This is a worsted weight. They were using Barocco Vintage. 273 yards. So most of them are one skein projects, which is nice, especially if you have a stash and you can just go grab and run with it. So that's my upcoming, my whips, which I've had basically the same thing. My Musselburgh, I didn't even finish. It's still in its plastic bag. I probably did one row. My socks, I did do a few rows. I actually was working on these last night at our knitting guild. It was a 1-year anniversary of the Southern New England Knitting Guild. So I was here last week. I've done about 3 inches. Still have a little ways to go. This is Bad Sheep yarn. It's expired colorway. This is a DK 1x1 rib sock. No heel. It's just straight toe up sock. And the colorway was Butterfly. There is one that's similar to this. Now I forget the name of it, but it's not exact. That's where I'm at. I did notice, by the way, with this yarn, and I think I only found one, where they did the sewn in join, which was a little scary because it was in my warp. I only found the one, so there was no notch, just that one part. But with that sewn in join, what was scary is I kept running it over with the heddle. I kept beating it, and I was worried that it was actually going to pull it out. Thankfully, it didn't. I paid attention to it. I was very careful, and that is packed in well now. So that would be the one thing I would caution about, or just look for when I bought this yarn probably over a year ago now. So I wouldn't even know that she has the same supplier. I only found the one, so it's not even, I wouldn't even say that's a thing with that yarn. Unlike the knots in this other one where I had knots the entire way, every single time. It was very consistent. I knew it was coming. So much different call on that. It just happened I had 2 weaves right in a week where I was worried about the ends and the splitting, but everything worked out fine. So it is quick today. I am meeting with the lady that is doing she's interviewing for fiber artists in the area, working on an article of some sort. So I'm not really sure. I'm meeting with her today, so that's where I'm going after this. And then of course it's Thursday, it's weave night. Obviously my looms are naked, so not sure what I'll be doing tonight. Maybe doing the edges on the fringe on that one. That's what I'll work on tonight. I don't know if you guys saw, I hung my donkey painting. I found it last week. I was cleaning down in my room. I actually was cleaning up here as well. That was a fundraiser when we got our rescue donkeys. We had a paint night, and it was a fundraiser to get them from the rescue. So that's a picture of one of my donkeys I painted. Figured I'll bring him up here. He's part of my farm. Let's see. I had no purchases this week, and I did listen to my book a little bit. There was an article shared about, and I have another book that I actually just put in my favorites, but there was an article shared that was about women knitting as spies in the wars. So that was an interesting article to read. I did just save a book. I saw someone talk about it, and I want to listen to it. Oh, let's see. A Life in Stitches by Rachel Herron. It says, knitting my way through love, loss, and laughter. So I forget what they said about this book, but I figured I'll go listen to it. So I'll let you know when I start that and how it is. That is what I have for this week. It was very quick because I don't have a ton going on. I did wash some of my fleeces, they are very slow to dry with it being wet in the basement. They are drying very slowly, and because it's so cold, everything's drying really slowly. But I did wash a bunch of fleeces. I got a black Gulf Coast native fleece completely washed. I actually rinsed it, I think 3 times in my washing machine. It was so dusty. It came from Louisiana. I do not have any black sheep yet. Hopefully I will have some, fingers crossed. But so I ordered that one. It's for a special project. I got that all washed. It is drying. Half of it's dry, half of it's not. Next week I hope to be carding that up and getting that ready to be spun. And let's see what else there is. And then the other fleeces have to go. So I'm waiting for more wash. Power scour, I had to order more. Well, that will be a big project. That's going to be a big project. I'm still debating on whether I'm going to weave it or knit it. Probably going to weave it. Likely. But we'll see. It would be a very long knit, I would think. So I'll probably weave it. It will take me a while to warp it up, but when it's done, it will be great. I don't know how I'm doing it yet. It's kind of held me off because I haven't made the decision on how I'm doing it, but I figured I'll get going on getting the yarn ready for whatever my end project will be. I also pulled together a whole bunch of old clothing and stuff. I think I'm going to do some rag rugs. Don't think I'm going to get that warped up for tonight, but it's a project I want to get started. This weekend is Wayland, as I mentioned. So if you're in the area, if you're looking to get out, if you're looking to get back out to some fiber festivals, it's a great fiber farmers market. There is an entire list of vendors that's going to be there. And I have the link down in the show notes, so check that out. If you're in the area, it would be a great place to get out of the house and buy some more yarn, buy some more fiber. And that's all I have this week. So if you want to see the class weft, little tutorial and tips, that is in my how-tos. I did post one farm, the initial intro to our farm. So that is on my farm YouTube page, Easy Acres Gnomestead. And I have 2 things to go up there if I have time to get them loaded. I do have to go get hay and stuff. So that's where we're at this week. In the meantime, until next week, happy making. Feel free to give us a like, subscribe, and follow along and share what you're working on. Love to see that every time. Until next week, happy making.